let's set about modifying the script in order to play the animations that we've just created. So I am in my player scene and I want script view. And the first thing I need to do is I need to create some booleans. I need to remember what direction I'm facing, because remember we have left and right animations. I also need to remember if I'm jumping or not, because I don't want it to play the jump animation if I'm falling, for instance. And I need to remember if I'm alive, because I want to disable the controls if the player loses its life, okay? So let's make a start on that, and I will start by creating my booleans. So as I say, we're going to have 3 booleans. The first one is going to be facing right. And I'm going to set that to true at the start of the game. The next one is going to be jumping. And I'm going to set that to false at the start of the game. And the next one is going to be called is alive. And I'm going to, of course, set that to true at the beginning of the game. All right. So we need to make a few modifications to the control input part of the code. Not very much, because we're going to create a function specifically to handle animation. We don't want to mix jobs within scripts. So we're going to create a function, a dedicated function to handle animation. But I do need to make some changes to the input section. First thing I want to do is set jumping to true inside the handle jump function. So I'm just going to go jumping equals true. Okay. Now let's create our animation function. So I am just below the input function, or the physics process, which handles the input, the player input and the movement. And I just need to make sure I'm right out as far as I can to the left so that my indentation is correct. And I'm going to create a function. I'm going to call it animate. So func animate, parentheses, colon, and enter. And we'll start with our run animations. So for our run animations, we're just going to detect what direction we're moving in and check that we're on the ground, and if so, play the appropriate run animation. We also need to set facing right to true or false, depending on which way we are running. If we're running to the right, our velocity in the x direction, in the x plane, which is horizontal, will be greater than 0. So let's test for that to start with. If velocity dot x is greater than 0 and is on floor. Get hold of our animation player using the $sign. There it is. Dot play run right. And we need to set facing right to true, because remember we may have been facing left earlier. All right, that looks good. Hit enter and come back one level, and then go if velocity dot x is less than 0, because if you're moving right to left, it'll be a negative value, and is on floor. We want to play animation player.play. We run left and set facing right to false. Okay, let's test what we've done so far. So I am going to call animate in the physics process just after I've done move and slide. Let's try that. Because the function won't run unless we call it in either the physics process or the process, because they are the only functions that are running continually. So let's try that, see if it works. I think it's working. It is working. It's not stopping, but that's because we haven't tested for if we are stationary. But when I run left, I play the run left animation. When I run right, I play the run right animation. I'm running while I'm jumping, and I'm running while I am standing still. But that's okay. That's not a bug. We'll handle that later. Okay, let's check to see if the player is standing still, and if so, we need to play the idle animation. So, to check the player is standing still, I'm going to test for this condition. I'm going to say if velocity.x, remember that's our velocity in the left to right plane, equals, so it's two equals for testing a condition, 0. So if it's exactly 0, it means we're standing still. And we also need to check, we're on the floor. Okay, colon, indent. Now we've got to check another one, another couple of things. We've got to go if facing right, indent another level, and if we are facing right and we're on the floor, animation player dot play idle right. If facing, if not facing right, animation player dot play idle left. All right, let's try that out. So we're standing still, we look right and left, we bob up and down, good. Now we're facing left, look left and right, bob up and down, good. Okay, let's handle the jump animation. So, turn that off, back into script view, and jumping's pretty easy because we've got a Boolean to test for it. So we can go if jumping, put a colon there, and then we're in one indentation, and we go if facing right, and another colon and another indent, $ animation player dot play jump right. If not facing right, animation player dot play jump left. The final thing we need to do is to reset the jumping Boolean to false after we've completed our jump. So in other words, as far as the game is concerned, we will still be jumping, but we'll be on the ground. So if we're jumping and we're on the ground, we finished our jump and we need to set jumping to false. So we test for just that. If jumping and is on floor, I keep saying ground, but it's actually floor, colon, jumping equals false. Looks good. Let's test the game once more. Yeah, jumping, looking good. And I stop jumping when I when I land on the floor. So I jump, I stop jumping, I jump, I stop jumping. Excellent. I'm moving left and right, jumping, and if I stand still, I look left and right, I bob up and down. If I stand still, it's the other way. I look left and right, bob up and down. That looks good.